Alcaraz looks to change course. The Mercian player is about to embark on an American tour in which his results in recent years have fallen short of expectations. After a much-needed vacation period, Carlos Alcaraz will soon return to competition to take on the American tour with a clear objective: to reclaim the world #1 ranking from his main rival, Italian Jannik Sinner. It's an ambitious yet possible goal, although the Spaniard will have to break the poor streak that has followed him in recent years. The final stretch of the calendar has proven elusive for the El Palmar native in recent seasons. His results have fallen short of the expectations placed on a player who, on the other hand, won his first Grand Slam at the US Open in 2022. That victory also made him the youngest player ever to top the ATP rankings. Since then, the American Tour has been an obstacle over the past 2 years for Alcaraz, who has openly admitted more than once that it's difficult for him to reach his peak performance once the clay and grass seasons are over. In 2025, he'll have added motivation, as he has only 60 points to defend in his next 2 events, the first of which is the Cincinnati Masters 1000. Alcaraz will begin his charge for the #1 ranking in the coming days with the goal of erasing the loss he suffered last year against Frenchman Gael Monfils in the second round. In that match, held just weeks after he played in the Olympic final, the Spaniard succumbed to frustration and even smashed a racket. For that reason, the world #2 will seek redemption by winning a title he nearly captured in 2023. Only Serbian Novak Djokovic, in a thrilling and epic 3-set final, stopped the Mercian from claiming another Masters 1000. If he wins it, he could cut the gap with Sinner, who won the title last year and therefore defends 1,000 points, compared to just 10 for Alcaraz. But it's at the US Open where the Mercian can take a giant step forward. Alcaraz will only be defending 50 points after being knocked out in the second round by the Dutchman, 1-6, 5-7, 4-6, in 2024. The El Palmar native, who also lost in the semifinals the year before to Russian Daniil Medvedev, will enter as one of the top contenders to win the final Grand Slam of the season. So will Sinner, who arrives as the defending champion but also with the challenge of not losing 2,000 points. A golden opportunity for Alcaraz to change the course. The US Open is just around the corner, and while everyone's talking about rackets and rankings, there's a new rival threatening to steal the dream: New York's extreme weather. But how serious is this problem? Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, and the rest of the tennis elite are preparing for the last Grand Slam of the year, but this time they won't just be facing each other. Get ready to discover how heat, mental pressure, and recent history are turning the US Open into a ticking time bomb. Carlos Alcaraz has decided not to participate in the Toronto Masters 1000. The reason? He needs rest. He knows the real challenge is just days away, with the Cincinnati Masters 1000, the prelude to the long-awaited US Open. His main goal is Flushing Meadows, where he hopes not only to reclaim the throne but also settle an old score with Jannik Sinner. But the challenge will be twofold: defeating his rival. And the weather. This year, the US Open will be played under a threat that doesn't come from across the net or the baseline. The extreme heat in New York has already triggered alarms. Temperatures are expected to reach 38 degrees Celsius, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That affects not only the players but also the fans, organizers, and even match scheduling. In a tournament of this level, even the smallest distraction can change everything. Organizers are already considering special measures: mandatory breaks, indoor matches, cooling zones. And with good reason. Players' health is at stake. The heat doesn't forgive, and we all remember scenes of athletes collapsing from dehydration, exhaustion, or even having to withdraw. This year, that danger is more real than ever. But what worries Carlitos the most is that he no longer arrives as the absolute favorite. Jannik Sinner is in peak form, and for the first time, the Spaniard seems to have lost confidence against him. We saw it at Wimbledon, where Alcaraz admitted to feeling inferior. In tennis, the mental battle is just as important as the physical one. If that doesn't change soon, history could repeat itself. Or get worse. The rivalry between Sinner and Alcaraz has grown like few others. In 2022, they gave us an epic US Open match, where Carlitos staged a miraculous comeback. Now, the duel seems to favor the Italian, who has not only improved his game but also his emotional resilience. Carlitos knows, he needs more than talent to beat him again. That's why he has chosen to pause, breathe, and prepare both mentally and physically to arrive at 100%. He knows the weather, the rival, and the past are all against him. But if there's one thing that defines Carlos Alcaraz, it's that in the toughest moments, he shines the brightest. The question is, will that be enough this time to endure the heat and reclaim the crown? Carlos isn't the only one in the race. Jannik Sinner has seized every opportunity to strengthen both his game and his presence on court. Many experts say this could be his year, and his recent performance at Wimbledon made it clear he's no longer just a rising star, he's a serious threat. He knows how to beat Carlitos, and that's a significant shift in their rivalry's dynamics. But let's not forget this season's surprise element, the heat. Under normal conditions, a match between Sinner and Alcaraz can last 5 hours. At nearly 40 degrees Celsius, it becomes an extreme test. Muscles fail, minds go foggy, and bodies reach the limit. Images of players vomiting or suffering heatstroke could return, and nobody wants that. Tournament organizers are well aware that decisions need to be made before it's too late. Proposals include pushing matches to later in the day or using retractable roofs to block direct sunlight. But even so, conditions won't be ideal. Physical preparation and hydration will be more crucial than ever, and every second of rest could make the difference. And this is where Carlos Alcaraz's decision to rest becomes even more valuable. Skipping Toronto allows him not only to recover physically, but also to acclimate to what lies ahead. Cincinnati will be a first test, but the real thermometer will be Flushing Meadows. There, every point will hurt more. Every error will be more costly. Every tactical decision will be vital. It's a golden opportunity, yes, but also a disguised trap. This year's US Open won't be just another tournament, it'll be a test of endurance. Sinner, Alcaraz, and company will have to adapt to a hostile environment, where the enemy might be invisible but deadly. Only those who stay calm under pressure will be able to dream of lifting the trophy. The memory of 2022 is still fresh. That unforgettable match between Alcaraz and Sinner, where the Spaniard saved match points and ended up winning the title, was a pure display of character. Now, in 2025, a new chapter is being written. But this time, the context is tougher, the conditions harsher, and the glory much harder to achieve. Who will emerge victorious? Carlos Alcaraz faces a monumental challenge to reclaim his place at the top of the tennis world in one of the most demanding tournaments of the year, under the most extreme conditions possible. The scorching New York heat won't just be a detail, it will be a decisive factor in every match, every set, every movement on the court. The battle against Jannik Sinner promises to be historic, but the climate, the mind, and the body will be just as important. It will be a true war of endurance and strategy, where only the best prepared will prevail. The US Open 2025 won't be just another tournament, it will be a trial by fire. Literally. Can a champion build his own legacy without living in the shadow of legends? Carlos Alcaraz, two-time Roland Garros winner and current world number 2, is clear about it. He doesn't want to be the new Rafa. Even though the whole world compares him to Nadal, Carlitos is writing his own story. In his own way. In a recent interview, Alcaraz opened up like rarely before. He spoke about pressure, identity, his relationship with Jannik Sinner, and even home-cooked meals. Want to see the more human side of the Spanish phenomenon? Stay till the end, this story will make you see tennis differently. Carlos Alcaraz has had a brilliant year. He won his second Roland Garros, triumphed at Queen's, and reached the Wimbledon final. However, it has also been an exhausting season. That's why he made an unexpected decision: to stop. He withdrew from Canada to take a well-deserved break and prepare with a clear mind for the year's final stretch. His return will be in Cincinnati, with his sights set on the US Open. But beyond titles, something deeper weighs on his mind: his identity as a tennis player. In an interview with the Financial Times, Alcaraz made it clear he doesn't want to be the new Rafa. Although he admires Nadal, he doesn't want to live in his shadow. "I don't want people to call me Rafa's successor," he said bluntly. It's easy to understand why. Comparisons may seem flattering, but they can be a heavy burden. Carlitos isn't trying to imitate, he's trying to build something of his own. Because ultimately, every champion has their own style, path, and story. And the media pressure is real. At such a young age, Carlos has experienced what few have: glory, cameras, headlines. But also demands, rumors, and constant judgment. That's why he strongly defends his authenticity. "If you don't stay true to your values, that pressure can consume you," he explained. It's a powerful message, especially coming from an athlete still shaping his career. Beyond his game, Alcaraz has shown maturity in handling fame without losing himself in it. He speaks calmly, smiles genuinely, and wants to be more than a crowd idol. He doesn't want to repeat what someone else already did. His ambition is not to equal, but to surpass, without copying. That makes him different. Because in a world that demands labels and comparisons, choosing to be yourself is a brave act. His relationship with Jannik Sinner reflects this too. While many look for drama between them, the reality is quite different. They compete fiercely, yes, but off the court there's respect, and even friendship. They train together, see each other often, and admire one another. People look for friction, but the reality is different, he clarified. In a sport where everything seems like rivalry, they choose humanity. For Alcaraz, being a good person is as important as being a great player. We want to outdo ourselves, but also be good people, he added. And those aren't just nice words, they're a life philosophy. Because tennis ends on the court, but the person remains off it. And that's crystal clear in Carlitos. Beyond titles and fame, Carlos Alcaraz finds comfort in simple things. In the interview, he shared how much he values those moments between tournaments, when he can go home and disconnect from tennis. My mom's cooking is always the best, he said with a laugh. Amid a packed schedule, he still finds happiness in homemade meals and a little dessert on the side. That search for balance is a key part of his success. Because in a sport where every detail counts, it's also important to know when to stop. To know who you are. Carlitos knows, it's not just about training non-stop or winning at all costs. It's also about recharging, going back to your roots, remembering why you started. And he finds that in his family, his home, and the small things many overlook. On another important note, Alcaraz was critical of the digital environment. For him, social media is not just a tool, it can also be a weapon. There's no worse weapon than words, he stated, referring to the impact online comments can have on athletes. It's not uncommon for many to suffer from criticism, judgment, or constant comparisons. And while he has thick skin, he's not immune. That's why he's chosen to keep his distance. To use social media just enough, avoid getting drawn into debates, and focus on his path. That emotional maturity is rare, especially at his age. He understands that being a public figure comes at a price, but also knows he doesn't have to pay more than he should. He chooses to focus on what he loves, playing tennis with passion, without losing his essence.